The Amazing Spider-Man number 37. And this is more rek-rap. Last issue, me and you talked about it. You actually had me slightly convinced that rek-rap has a place. We could kind of deal with them. Maybe the timing was off coming out of a dark story where Peter had the sins of Norman. You have all that stuff with Kraven. Then you end up finishing it with Norman actually seemingly getting the sins back. And then we have goofy rek-rap. So, okay, get over that. So I'm thinking, we're going to get rek-rap again. I think we're going to have him for one more issue anyway. But the idea, maybe now I'm used to it. Maybe this will be better. I can ease into this. This happens a lot, I think, in this Zeb Wells run because it has such a weird pacing. It has such a weird change of tones, even within issues. So, okay, let's see what gives here. And we get this issue, Amazing Spider-Man number 37, and it's gotten to the point where how can you overdo rek-rap in 2 issues? Because I think he's well overdue or overdone. And he feels like a side character in a sitcom. I said to you, like a Screech or an Urkel. Mm-hmm. Somebody, though, that is known for one catchphrase. Everybody goes nuts for a season or 2. But then you realize there's nothing else to this character than, did I do that? Or I didn't do it, like on The Simpsons with Bart. And you get to that point where then it becomes cringy. It's already at that point. Rek-rap has overstayed his welcome. I don't get it. It's because he's pushing it too hard. The humor doesn't hit. Zeb Wells, known as a funny guy, I don't know about that. I think that his stupid robot chicken humor that he came from is done. Again, almost like I didn't do that, kid. That's Zeb Wells himself. But this is Amazing Spider-Man number 37, written by Zeb Wells, art by Ed McGuinness, which is really good. Emilio Laiso on interlude art, which is okay. Mark Farmer, Wade Von Grauberger, Ed McGuinness on inks, Marcelo Menez, and Eric Arcinego on colors, CC's Joe Caramagna on letters. Now, you said last issue that they gave you that dark cover to try to fool you because then you go in with rek-rap, and it wasn't that dark. In this, you do have gang war stamped on the deal. There is an interlude type deal that's kind of a prelude setting up some things, but it's only a couple pages. You don't really need to read them because anything that would end up happening, and only one thing is revealed, but it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. Let's see what goes on. I'm sure it'll be reiterated once gang war starts. But in the meantime, you get a lot of rek-rap. And by the end, I think Peter is a jerk. I think rek-rap is this weird kind of back and forth. We said rek-rap is played off as like, hey, he's a goofy Spider-Man with a heart of gold. He means well, but he's not dumb, though. No. And me and you were talking. You even had to say to me, because at points, he knows things, but then for a joke, he doesn't know things later, but he doesn't know the most basic things that you would know. But then some of his lines end up showing you that he knows more. So
high
weird,
intelligence, I think. He has high, but he doesn't know what a building is.
No, he has no idea what a building is, and doesn't even have the deal to say. The room on top of the building. He's like, the triangle thing. Then Peter has to make things work, but by the end, Peter ditches him completely.
He's just fed up
in a way that seems bad, but
cruel.
You start off, and we have that repossessor demon. Now it's in its kind of human-esque form here, and Jason had some things in our Slack chat, but we kind of would figure this out anyway. It's the guy from the beginning of the series that ended up sitting on the stoop, always waiting to catch Peter so he can say, hey, you owe this, you owe that. Now he seems like he's repossessing demons for Limbo, and it kind of makes sense in the way that we never really found out what this guy, we thought it must have been money. He had the play where Aunt May almost lost the house, and Peter, this is all from the beginning when he ended up exploding York, Pennsylvania, which I think is a plus. But in the meantime, also, he had all these bills. Everybody hated him. This guy was just there. And then he got eaten in dark web without really ever knowing anything about this guy. He was just kind of there.
It's like, oh, that's that guy. Oh, he's dead now. Okay,
and people laughed. I laughed when it happened.
I did too.
They did not really know what to do with this guy, but you had to get rid of him. So he got eaten in dark web. Well, it looks like maybe after he got eaten, Madeline Pryor kind of said, well, now that you're here, I could use your skill set. You are a guy who goes and collects things, the repossess. I'll turn you into a demon that goes out and grabs these other demons that escape. It makes some sense. I mean, in a weird way. But it really is kind of an ambiguous thing. And he's here, but he still seems obsessed with collecting whatever from Peter. So he's there in the apartment. He's looking at a picture of Peter and Randy. And then, voila, Randy's at the door. Hey, Peter, I can't get a hold of you. I hear you in there. And this repossessor says, okay, I can take Randy as collateral, which he does. He ends up grabbing him and seemingly you would think take him into limbo the way he does all these demons. So in that, there is something at stake for Peter then to go on. Now, I don't know that we needed that because just the idea where it seemed like last issue when this repossessor came and it's awful, demon guys, when it was going to take rek-rap, please don't let it take me home. I don't want to go home. And it felt like what rek-rap was saying to Peter is, it's awful there. They treat me like crap. And you could sit there and, again, people could argue about the intelligence level of rek-rap, but rek-rap is, like I said, a heart of gold. He might be annoying, but he's kind of a nice guy who wants to do well. Might not do well in what is essentially prison.
No, not at all. Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is like a nice guy who all of a sudden he's in prison and there's bad people there. Plus, you're also playing that idea. If he goes back to Limbo, these people in Limbo, say Octoball, Scorpion, which we see here, they're not going to really be so happy with him. It's basically the idea of a cop getting put in jail. They're in big trouble, especially because they put a lot of people away. So the idea that he didn't want to go back to Limbo, it seemed pretty cut and dry to me. It's because it's an awful place and I don't want to go there. But in this, Peter keeps like, why don't you want to go home? That's the mystery. I'm like, really? Because by the end then, as it goes through here, and pretty much what you're going to get a lot of is rek-rap story adventure time. I still think if you're going to do this, do it in one of those Infinity comics on the app, maybe collect it later because it's just taking up space for no reason because you end up as he is there fighting. And this is the thing. He's in a tale. The mystery of the time I got in a fight with Kraken the Hunter a few weeks ago and something weird happened. What weird happened is that Kraken, again, he doesn't know how things go. And he's like, I'm going to marry you alive. You're going to marry me. You're supposed to bury me. Bury you? I'm not a sadist. Well, you're not going to be Mr. Rap. That's it. That like, you sit there and read that and you're like,
odd. I had to read it a few times. I'm like, am I missing something
what
here?
The hell's going on here? What do you do? Why are we playing these games? Like, you're heading into a gang war. This is sandwiched in between a big crossover event and Norman Osborn getting his sins back after Peter almost killed a bunch of people and did kill a bunch of people. And this is what's in between. And the only thing I can think of is that you have a timing issue. The other books involve, say, a Miles, that sort of thing that will cross over. They need a couple issues to tie up things, set up a couple things to get into gang war. But this really feels like you're missing the boat here. You don't understand the lay of the land, but it is like, I think that Zeb Wells has this stupid trigger that he has to tell stupid jokes, and he's got like a quota of them. Maybe it's in his contract. He's like, listen, I have to tell at least 10 eye-rolling jokes every 3 issues, and I haven't been able to do that, even though he tries to mix them in. He tries to mix up. Things get real dark, and he'll throw a joke in. I said, he is the guy at a funeral that's joking around and everybody's annoyed with, but he thinks he's the funniest guy ever.
You think he's like Steven Spielberg? I'll make one movie for them and one movie for me?
That's what it is. He's like, I'll do one issue with one joke, but now this is my deal with the jokes, and it's bad. And it starts to be, like I said, an Urkel, that sort of situation of, ooh, you don't really need this. It's not really hitting like you think it is. Let's move on.
It's wanging time. What is that? He says, it's wanging time. Is that his catchphrase?
I'm married with 5 kids. I know what wanging time is. So I don't know recently. Like, that's his catchphrase. Like, that's what, can you imagine Zeb Wells is probably writing this and he's got to watch himself because he's laughing so hard that he starts crying and it's getting on his, tablet. He might ruin it. It's terrible. So you end up where this whole play is going on. He runs into this repossessor, and this is how it leads into what he's telling Peter. He ends up following the repossessor, sees that he grabs this guy, sees that he grabs that guy, and he keeps going to
People box.
and then takes him to the people box. And Peter's like, you mean a building, a house? Yeah. And then the triangle thing on top of the people box. Oh, you mean an attic? I'm like, I wouldn't have gotten that. But
No, I wouldn't have either.
in this issue, you're trying to play that jokey thing like that. But at one point, you have rek-rap talk like smarter than Peter in a way where he's like, elementary, dear Pete, man. And it's kind of a funny joke, but it shows you that rek-rap isn't dumb and he would know a building. Why are you saying, why is that your joke? The people box. I'm waiting for him to be like, oh, this horseless carriage. What are you doing? But then,
well, it's a different. I mean, if rek-rap is intentionally saying it wrong, that's one thing. But I don't think he is in this case. I think he just doesn't know what a building is.
In Queens, there's we know about this. We all actually already saw the attic, and it's where
issue.
This repossessor goes back, and then there's a flash of light. You would guess that when he consumes the things, maybe he has to go back here. This is where the portal, whatever the thing may be. But you end up, as they're doing this, Peter and rek-rap are talking, and Norman busts in because they're at Oscorp, and he's like, what are you doing here with this thing? Oh, this is my buddy rek-rap. He's no harm. He's fine. I got to figure things out. You better get him out of here before I lose my company. And then you have rek-rap's like, hey, how you doing, buddy? And then starts making jokes. Hey, come on into the hot bath of a mystery. The water's fine. I guess you don't want to be in the bath. And I'm like, you're annoying. You were so annoying. Norman's just like, get this thing away from me. I don't want it around. Peter, you know that. And I'm like, really? The amount of things that Norman and Peter have been doing up until this point, this is not on the top of the list, right? And it feels like, it just doesn't feel like Norman. Any Norman that we've seen coming in, is this supposed to be like, ooh, he's got his sins in, because it didn't even seem like that.
He just seems like he's worrying about his business, and that's it.
Yeah, he seems like he comes in and he's just like, Mr. Manager, you better get out of here before I get in trouble. I'm like, okay, that didn't play out well. And I think, again, if you're going to be the deal, I'll go old school. This is where, oh, man, we have to have the Fonz show up. Fonzie comes in, everybody's, oh, Fonz, yeah, and then he leaves because you just need an appearance, and he does that. So you have Urkel, you have the Fonz. But when is anything in this going to be cool? Because it's not. Because then you end up where, we have to have an interlude with the whole gang war. And that's where you see Hammerhead, and he's like, hey, we're going to get this set up in the big plays. Man, when people find out that you ended up killing Count Nefaria's daughter, there's going to be problems. And then Count Nefaria just shows up and says, hey, what if they didn't find out that it was ordered by me? I ordered Madame Mask's assassination. Ha ha, because I'm Count Nefaria, and it's going to be a gang war, bitches. And then he leaves. It's done.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say 100% Madame Mask is not dead.
She's probably in limbo, in the limbo of limbo.
She is not dead. They would be showing that. There's a major character way bigger than Count Nefaria is.
Each little interlude and the way that this is kind of being set up, I'm like, I don't need another dark web. If I see one sentient mailbox, I am going to lose it. I don't need that anymore. I'm done. So you end up where, all right, well, the interlude over. Gang war, everybody. So we then go back to Peter and rek-rap trying to figure out what they're going to do. Some of the jokes here are, it's a mystery, so we got to dress up as detectives. But Peter doesn't want to do that, so it really falls flat. And then he says, listen, there is no mystery. You're a jerk. And you should go home. You are trying to use me. And just says that repossessor, he gets the demons and sends them back to limbo. And I think that you're nonsense. So sayonara, leaves them. He just leaves. He completely ditched rek-rap. And right after he does, the repossessor shows up and says, you're coming home. It's all over now. He's done. He's getting sent to what he says.
He just completely abandons rek-rap.
Yep, just completely abandons him. Peter goes back to his apartment. And I love where he goes in. He's like, man, I didn't leave my picture on the floor like that, broken, and the door. Like, he is so nonchalant about the idea that his apartment is
completely trashed. Completely trashed.
It's destroyed. The door and all of the plaster. It's all off. It's all in a big deal.
Thousands of dollars in damage.
He goes, I didn't leave my door like that. What do you mean? It's
what door?
pieces?
I don't even see a
There's
door.
No door. Hey, Randy's phone. Oh, no. And you're like, what the hell is going on? And then the repossessed, because he says, I got to go find Randy. He's making these jumps to conclusions, assumptions that, oh my God, I got to go to this Queen's attic that rek-rap said. Like the idea, don't know what happened, but he goes there. The repossessor comes in and says, oh, I was hoping you would come. Hey, I'm going to get what I came for. Randy Robertson, he's just collateral. You owe me a great debt. I turn into a monster and then just eats Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, oh no. And now it seems like the thing is, in this point, this is just going to help. He has to free probably Randy in limbo of limbo.
And rek-rap too, yeah.
It's pretty much just, I'm going to head there and save him. Right?
Because it just eats you and craps you out in limbo or wherever fake limbo this is. Yeah, because Madeline Pryor was telling him, like, your mission is to get rek-rap. You don't be messing with Spider-Man, but this guy's got his own...
He's on a side hustle.
Side mission, yeah.
Of his deal because this is something that he's taken over. Like, I guess the play would be, all right, you shouldn't be remembering a lot of your past life so you don't have any problems. You're a repossessor. That's what you do. You're good for it. But then again, you're hinging on that he's good at the repossession. Really, the idea that he's good at it, he sat on the stairs in front of Peter, legitimately did not ever get his job done. He was there. He completely failed. Mm-hmm. And now he's the big limbo of limbo repossessor. And there goes Peter. And at the end, I'm like, why am I reading this? Why is this even a thing? Because it's nonsense. And again, last issue I could say to you, they're trying to have fun. Zeb Wells wants to have fun with this rek-rap. Okay. But 2 issues, I think that you'd agree, it's already too much. There's nothing here to even warrant 2 issues, let alone that we have to continue and try to save everybody and see what happens with rek-rap. It's just not a developed character. The character's there for pretty much a one kind of deal, one trick pony, and it's already, overstated steel. What would you give this?
Yeah, I'll give this one a 5.5.
I'm giving it a 4.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.